Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Talking Crap podcast. This week, we shall be discussing overrated and underrated wrestlers. We're going to be joined later on by Jack Walker. However, before that, I am Lucas Jackson. I'm joined, of course, by Jazzy Josh Porter.
Hi! Wow.
Hello.
Wow. That did not sound like me.
How is the shed?
Well, I'm happy to tell you that on Monday morning-ish, I shall be releasing the virtual tour of the shed.
Finally! People have been waiting this.
Yeah, weirdly enough, it's a bit underwhelming, but who cares?
Nothing
the people wanted
nowadays.
it.
Exactly, you've got to give the people what they want. Which,
Yeah, the lockdown has gotten to us so much.
Well, look, we're sort of out of lockdown now. I don't know. We're kind of allowed out, but not allowed out. We're not too sure what we're doing. Okay, at the moment,
You can go out,
but there's definitely
don't.
more freedom. I guess you're allowed out a bit more without people judging Facebook or whatever.
It's the internet.
The weather
Everyone's going to judge
nice. Yeah, the weather was nice, but it's taken a bit of a turn. But anyway, we're here to give you some news. First of all, before we get into our main topic,
before we get into the news,
Mhm.
I'm going to give us a shameless plug.
Okay.
Lucas Jackson recently sent me a t-shirt in the post, and I was quite impressed with it. And you'll find out probably after this episode goes up, and you're going to see what t-shirt that is and where you can purchase your own.
Oh.
Yeah, little shameless plug there for us.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we'll have more on that.
I'm wearing it now, actually.
Perfect. Mine's currently in the wash.
Yeah.
But hopefully it will be not in the wash by the time we record the next episode. But anyway, let's get cracking with the news, though. We've a lot to discuss. So, firstly, our main bit of news is coming from actually Impact Wrestling. So, Slammiversary is taking place on July 19th or 18th. I'm not sure, in July anyway. They released their kind of teaser trailer for it, I guess. And in this trailer, they featured a fake news report fake news report, and they featured some of the released talent. Most notably being EC3, Mike and Maria Kanellis, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, formerly known as the OC, of course, as well as Rusev. I think he's now going by the name of Miro.
And Eric Young.
They've all been... Yeah, and Eric Young, sorry. Yeah, I don't know how I forgot that. But obviously, some interesting ones here. As Eric Young, EC3, Kanellis, and Gallows and Anderson have all done Impact before. I think Gallows and Anderson actually did it under the Global Force banner.
Yeah, everyone but Rusev in that advert.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this is quite big. I mean, a lot of people obviously were expecting everyone to kind of go to AEW. But it does seem that, I mean, if this is true, I mean, I guess they could be kind of teasing, or sweeping the rug or whatever. But I mean, these are some big names here. We've got some good talent here. We've got people who are on big, massive deals in WWE. Yeah. And so, they should be treated like a big deal when they come back to Impact.
Royalty. Well, Eric Young,
in the case of Rusev.
Eric Young is Impact royalty, obviously being with the company almost from the beginning. He's one of the originals.
The only thing I can kind of think, anything going against Eric Young, obviously, is the fact that, I think he's 40. Yeah, he's 40 years old, coming here to wind down, or whether he's ready to step it up. Obviously, you've got Rusev in there, who I think is a big deal here. He's got the big kind of thing. I think Impact needs someone quite big, and so this could quite do it. And I don't know if they haven't obviously shown debut all at the event, or whether it's kind of they're going to debut maybe leading up to the event. At this point in time, but I'm definitely kind of interested. And I've not really ever been like an Impact fan, but I think this could maybe swing it a little bit. For me, anyway.
Potentially, I did see quite an interesting fan theory though. So I don't remember where it was, what state or what city it was, but one of the fans commented on the post that Impact put up about it, saying the news broadcaster they used, like the host for it, is actually the newscaster host anchor. That's the word. The news anchor.
Yeah.
From the same state, city thingy that Eric Young is from.
Okay.
So they thought that was maybe a little Easter egg towards that. I think it's just a coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the moment there's just a small circle of media personalities to use, because of the travel restrictions and filming restrictions. But it does seem obviously America is very loose on this stuff now.
Yeah, it would be a good Easter egg,
one
though.
to be interested. That's
Subtle
Impact Slammiversary taking place next month. So our next bit of news comes from AEW, or more specifically Tony Khan, who has banned both Hulk and Linda Hogan from future AEW events. This comes after Linda Hogan posted a tweet about the Black Lives Matter movement. Bit of controversy surrounding that. We're not going to repeat it on the broadcast. And obviously Hulk Hogan's had his fair share of racism and racist allegations in the past. This is my take on this. I don't really think that, Hogan was going to be doing the front row, sit and shake hands with people, kind of bollocks for AEW. I think he's got a WWE Legends deal. I'm not too sure.
Something like that.
Linda Hogan, I think her days in kind of visiting wrestling shows are probably over now. She's got a divorce settlement, and I think she's happy just to do that.
Honestly, I don't think they care either.
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so.
And I don't think the fans care either, because a lot of people, fans included, and including Simon Miller, who said this on a What Culture video, they all believed that Hulk Hogan was maybe the demise, or one possible demise, of WCW and TNA. Mainly TNA, I'd say, more than WCW, because I think WCW was going under anyway without Hulk Hogan being there.
The Russo situation, of course.
Yeah, but with TNA, I definitely think that Hulk Hogan maybe had a bad influence on them, and maybe the reason they got bought out multiple times.
Yeah, I think sadly, Hogan has just tarnished a few things in the past 10 years or so.
And he doesn't work anywhere other than WWE or WCW. Honestly, I don't think they'd want him in AEW either.
No, nor do I. I think they've been very careful. And this is what this goes back to. We're saying about Slammiversary and the people there. I think, as much as I think those people could have gone to AEW, I think that they are being very selective who they're signing. So they're not so much seeming like WWE copycats. But end of the day, Tony Khan made that statement, and it's out there. And fair enough, that's what he wants to do. I guess it seems like it's been done to kind of bring publicity, but that's how it works sometimes. Our last piece of news is about the WWE Network launching a free version. That's completely free, no credit cards, no monthly fee or whatever, no free trial or anything. And in this free version, which launched, by the way, literally by surprise, last minute, I think on Monday, this week, Monday. So you get 15,000 hours of content. You don't get the live pay-per-views or NXT takeovers, but you do get access to recent Raws and SmackDown events.
Really?
Original series like Table for Three and the Monday Night War series, which was very, very acclaimed. They released a new show called Raw Talk, which is a bit like a post-show, I guess, for Raw, and some other kind of older pay-per-views, throughout the last 10 years or so. So it's completely free. I mean,
so it's BBC iPlayer then?
Kind of, in a way, yeah.
the wrestling equivalent of BBC iPlayer.
I think this is. I guess they've had enough time doing these free trials and stuff, and I'm guessing if the sell for them is the live events, and the stuff like the stuff like the Undertaker series and the new series, documentary series, which I think they do very well. So the stuff like 24 and was it 365?
Yeah,
they do really well. Those are obviously going to be on the paid tier, so that you will get quite a lot of bang for your buck still. Where we've got, and a lot of the old WCW and ECW pay-per-views, obviously they're going to be all behind the paid wall too. So a lot of older fans will still obviously want to pay for it. But
I'm going to keep the network, because the network is the way that I watch pay-per-views now.
Yeah,
I just like the network for WWE. It's an easy way to watch WWE from the UK. Because obviously in America, it comes with your TV license essentially, whereas we have to buy extra channels.
Yeah, we obviously had the Sky deal and the BT deal.
Yeah,
but I think I think it's a good idea, and I think it will get people more interested, and I think overall it's a very good idea. So that's the news, Josh. That's the news. So this week we are going to be joined by former DKW Tag Team and Chaos Champion, Jack Walker. Jack Walker, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, we're good. I'm good. Josh, you all right?
Yeah, I'm doing well.
Good. So today we're going to do things a little bit differently. We are talking about overrated and underrated wrestlers, and I've decided to kind of turn it into a little game show, which I'm calling Wrestling 101. I'm going to explain the rules in a second. Before we go into that, however, we are going to begin with the long-awaited version of the promo challenge. Over to Josh.
Oh, now this is the fun bit. I mean, it's not the fun bit. The entire thing is fun. But anyway, Jack, the promo challenge is very simple. You've probably heard other people do it from the last 2 weeks of podcasts. So the rules are very simple. You will get a score out of 10. 5 points from me, 5 points from Lucas. You have 1 minute to give us a promo based on the 2 topics that I'm about to give you. Do you understand the rules?
Oh, I am not prepared.
That's the point. You're not meant to be prepared.
For this.
No one's ever prepared for it.
God. Okay.
Right.
Born ready. That's what they say. Born ready.
Good. As you should be. Your 2 topics are: you're competing at AEW Double or Nothing for the TNT title against Darby Allin. You have 1 minute, starting now.
My name is Jack Walker, and you might know that in a few weeks' time at Double or Nothing by AEW, I will be against Darby Allin for the prestigious TNT title. Now, it's a very new belt, and I feel like it hasn't been treated with the respect it deserves. See, Darby Allin, he's a great talent. He's a great wrestler. He's not. I'm lying. He's none of those things. What he is a spot monkey. He's a glorified stuntman who doesn't deserve to be in the same ring as me. So next week at Double or Nothing, Jack Walker versus the glorified stuntman Darby Allin for the TNT Championship, where I will walk away with the glorious TNT title, and I will be the greatest wrestler to ever perform on the glorified network.
Ooh.
Well,
I believe that was the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I believe that was the time, like literally bang on.
Pretty much dead on, yeah. It started at 10 seconds to, it ended at 10 seconds to.
Bloody hell, that is some good timing, so I can't duck that point. The only thing I'd say really is you started off saying it was a few weeks away, and then you said next week. I know this is on the point, on the spot, but the pay-per-view moved weeks. Quite a confident thing.
It's the time, you can't really tell when things are going to happen nowadays, so I'm going to be guessing.
Fair enough. I thought it took a while to get into it, though. The turn halfway through was decent. I'm going to give it a 3.
I have to agree with most of it. It was dead on time, so you can't lose the point for that. Topic was all there. Obviously, you changed from weeks to week. But I'm going to go with a 4. So, that being said, that gives you a total of 7 points, and if I remember correctly, that puts you 3rd.
Oh, 3rd best. It's like sports day all over again.
Because I'm pretty sure Vinnie Daniels had 8. I think Champagne Charlie had 8.
Oh, I can't compete.
And Ian Frood, I think, had... No, actually, you might be second, because I think Ian Frood had 6.
Second.
6.
I'll take that.
Yeah, strong winners. But yeah, that's the promo challenge. Next week we will have that as well, so don't forget. But now it's time for Wrestling 101. So obviously, wrestling is subjective, as we're all aware. We're not here to upset any sort of fan base. That's why how we're going to do it. We're going to go category by category. We've got 5 categories, by the way. And you're basically going to pitch to me, sell me why a certain wrestler or wrestlers is the most overrated or underrated in that category. You're going to have 45 seconds for rounds 1 to 4 and a minute for the final round. So we're going to begin with the first category. I know you've had some time to think about this, and we're going to start with the overrated wrestlers first. The first category is tag teams and stables. So tag team wrestlers, stables, factions, trios. We're going to start with you, Mr. Porter. You have 45 seconds on the clock. Please, who is your nomination for overrated tag team or stable? Starting now.
So, overrated tag team, I had the New Day. They're also a stable, but at the moment they're a tag team. I just think they've been overdone. I think their time has passed. They were good when they first started, but now they're just nothing more than a comedy gimmick. Yeah, they had some good matches with the Usos and I believe the Revival, and obviously had multiple tag team championship runs, but I think they're just a little bit overrated when it comes to stables and tag teams.
Fair enough.
That was 45 seconds, but close enough.
You got more time? You got about 10 seconds? Any final things that you don't like about them?
I think it's overdue time that they have this massive kind of falling out.
And time. Just rather stop you there. You use your time wisely. So now coming to you next, Jack. Who's your most overrated tag team or stable?
Okay, so my overrated tag team is the Young Bucks.
Ooh.
Now, don't get me wrong. From 2011 to 2014, I was one of their biggest fans. But my issue is they haven't evolved. They haven't evolved in the last 4 years. You can watch any one of their matches and it will be the same. Now, I'm not saying that they're bad wrestlers, because they're not. And I'm not doubting for what they've done for tag team wrestling, because it's been a lot. And it's one of the reasons why AEW is a thing now. But for them still to use the moniker as the best tag team in wrestling now and use it legitimately is a little bit of a rub in the face to people who are evolving their style and involving the tag team scene. And that's why I think they're a little bit overrated and the most overrated tag team.
Time. So, your New Day versus Young Bucks. This is fucking hard. I can't put... I'm a fan of the Young Bucks, believe it or not. You heard it here on the Talking Crap podcast. I have to side with... Yeah, I can't put the New Day in. I think the New Day, they've got the trios thing. I think they've obviously got a story coming back when Woods is obviously back from injury. They are a really good tag team. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Young Bucks. Jack, you swayed me. I think, they haven't evolved enough. So now switching gears to the underrated side. Who is it we should be talking about? And we're going to come first to Jack. 45 seconds, starting now.
My tag team is simple. Paul London and Brian Kendrick. They are, in my opinion, two of the greatest individuals who's been put together as a tag team, and they completely blew away everyone else in the tag team division from 2005 to 2008. Personally, for me, they're one of the reasons why I became a wrestler, because those are the two people that I watched when I was growing up watching the business, and they evolved wrestling to me to the point where it could be fun, silly and lighthearted, but they could also be taken seriously. Plus, they have the longest SmackDown tag team title reign of them all, but no one talks about them. No one talks about the historic team that they had, or the matches that they had, or anything like that. Anything.
Time. Right, very good argument. Now, same question to you, Josh.
So for underrated tag teams, I went with the Motor City Machine Guns. I'm a bit biased towards these guys because they are my all-time favourite tag team ever. But I watched them through their entire TNA run. I saw some of their Japan runs, and I feel they could have been picked up by someone bigger, or maybe not split up at all. They've done well successfully as singles, but I feel like they didn't get the recognition they deserved. Yes, they had multiple title runs, but I just don't see how they couldn't have been picked up by someone bigger.
Fair points to both. I must admit, London and Kendrick do get forgotten quite a lot, but particularly Paul London, because Kendrick's back in the company now. Motor City Machine Guns, though, I think that they were a thing and they had a lot of success. And I think even you said it I think you might have really slipped up a little bit when you said they weren't a success, but they had multiple title reigns. It's kind of hard to be underrated and kind of say that. So again, I'm going to have to side with Mr. Walker. London and Kendrick, yeah, people have forgotten that reign existed, and London didn't really get mentioned at all in WWE. So yeah, 2-0 so far.
2-0
so
the next two-time tag champion.
Indeed, well, makes sense, I guess. So you won that round. So now moving on to the indie round. So just to clarify, to listeners, viewers, we are classifying indie as any non-WWE talent. It can include talent that has been in the WWE at some point, but you must be looking at them from an indie perspective. So you can't say AJ Styles and then just use WWE points all the time. Has to be focusing on his independent days. Both got that?
Yep.
So, as always, we start with Overrated, and we will come to Josh Porter first, 45 seconds, starting now.
So, the indie wrestler I picked for being overrated was Brian Cage. Yes, he is a very good wrestler. However, I believe that he has been used too much and had too much recognition for what he is actually worth. He was pretty good in Lucha Underground, but I think he's just not quite there with the gimmick-wise. He's made what he's got work, but I think he's been given way too much recognition on the indie scene, and even being picked up by AEW recently to somehow be given an AEW World Title shot out of nowhere. As I said previously, it was a slap in the face to everyone else in that casino ladder match. I just think he's been overused way too much.
Fair point. Now, same question to you, Jack.
Right, controversial. My overrated indie wrestler is David Starr. Mine's a very, very personal opinion to me. I'm very adamant that politics and wrestling shouldn't be the same. My wrestling is, for me, an escapism. And for someone to fully bring out the fact that he separates a different politician than me, or he has different beliefs than me, or anything like that, and makes it his character, it shouldn't be a thing in wrestling. It's not to do too much about his actually wrestling style. I'm not here or there for his wrestling style. He's a wrestler. He's good at what he does. But my personal opinion that he shouldn't be promoting himself through politician and politics and making money from it.
Two very good, compelling arguments there. I'd like to say that David Starr's a cunt. I can't stand him. And for the similar reason that you said, wrestling, politics, completely different. It's entertainment. Let's get it right. But I will have to say, yeah, Cage for me, he's never really seemed like the big deal. And I think, yeah, he has been so overused in Impact, in Lucha, and now like in AEW. So I'm going to go with Josh on this one. Brian Cage.
I got one.
Welcome. So underrated now, and let's go to Mr. Walker. Who have we got for underrated?
So my underrated indie worker is Jay White. For me, there is not a better heel in wrestling right now. For someone who fully understands what it means to be a heel, he's not liked by a single Japanese fan when it comes to New Japan. The reason he's underrated in my eyes is because when he got given the world title for New Japan, it got met with people being outraged, saying he didn't deserve it, he wasn't good enough, and I think he's proved time and time again that he belongs in that company, and in fact, in my opinion, he's the best character in the company by far, and in my eyes, he's the only legitimate heel in New Japan.
Ooh, right. Same to you, Josh.
For this one, I picked Rockstar Spud. Yes, he is currently performing on WWE, however, I think he should have a larger role within WWE, or at least still on the main roster like he was before, maybe still with AOP. I think they've kind of squashed him a little bit using this whole I've been released, you should all kind of feel sorry for me gimmick that he's got going on at the moment. I think he definitely should have a larger role within WWE. Did I mention that I've called him Rockstar Spud instead of Drake Maverick? only because his name was Rockstar Spud on the Indies team. Even in Impact Wrestling, he was constantly the lackey. I think he's definitely a very overrated wrestler in terms of he has a lot of in-ring skill and a lot of potential that is never being used.
So, okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to sadly disqualify your pick, Josh. He's not currently employed by WWE, but I mean, your arguments were very much based on these WWE careers. Obviously, that's not what we're looking for. So I have to give it to Jack. I mean, Jay White, I do think is a very good villain. Does his job well. And yeah, I would say not enough people speak about him in the same vein they talk about a lot of other people, particularly people that are in AEW. So that round goes to Jack. So now, get your pitchforks ready, people. As we're going to decide, we're going to talk about women. So female wrestlers. We're going to start with Overrated, and we will start with Mr. Porter. 45 seconds starting now.
I picked a very easy one, and that is Charlotte Flair, because I believe she's had way too many title runs for what she needed. She's obviously had a fair amount of doors open for her. Yes, she is very good in the ring. However, her mic skills are a bit bland, and she's always got her eyes on the title, which, in my respective thoughts, I think she should just be there for the wrestling, not consistently in the title picture, whereas there are many, many more deserving women that should be in the title picture more often. And the fact that she's somehow worked her way into the NXT title picture, taking away from all of those developmental guys that deserve any form of title run or more recognition than she does.
Very good argument. Jack, time starting now.
So mine is Sasha Banks. I believe that it's ludicrous the fact that people call her one of the best women wrestlers in the world, yet she hasn't put on a single decent match since 2016. I think if anyone else was in talks about being the best certain wrestler in the world, but they haven't performed since 2016 in a decent level, that it would just be laughed at. Her character is so one-sided and bland, and she can't play anything but a heel. But even when she is a heel, it's just, I'm better than you. That's her heel, which we've seen since the 60s. It's boring. It doesn't entertain me.
Okay, two very, very good arguments, and you picked obviously two of the four horsewomen of the WWE. This is fucking tough because I don't care a lot about both these acts, and I think they are both stale. I'm going to have to go with, especially now because of how she's being used, and she's kind of on every fucking show. I'm going to have to go with Josh and say Charlotte, though. I think Sasha, she doesn't really do much now, but I can see that, yeah, she's definitely overrated as a performer, I think. But I think Charlotte at the moment takes a biscuit. So, yeah, Josh, you win that. Well done. I think that's 3-2 now, isn't it?
Yay!
So, right,
I
underrated.
didn't get disqualified.
Underrated, then. We'll start with you, Mr. Walker.
So my underrated female wrestler is Kairi Sane. Now, Kairi Sane has been someone that I've watched before she was even in NXT. I've watched her from the early days, like 2013, when I first saw her, when I started watching Japanese wrestling. And since then, she's always been on my radar as one of the best female wrestlers. Once she got to WWE and lost the NXT title, I feel like she hasn't even been talked about in the same light as she used to be talked about. I don't think that's very fair, based on the fact that she can't control the push, and she gets slammed up with the fact that she's from a different culture as a gimmick. And I don't think anyone can really shine when their gimmick is their culture rather than their personality. And I feel like she doesn't get talked about in the same light as people like Asuka or, yeah.
Right. Same to you, Mr. Porter, then.
So I picked Shotzi Blackheart for this one, simply because I watched her back on the indies when she was there, especially in Impact Wrestling and Evolve, and she's always been a tremendous wrestler. Had some of the best matches in Evolve that you'll see, quite a lot of no DQ matches if I remember correctly, but her time in Impact was really where she kind of peaked. Yeah, she didn't win a championship, but the few matches she had there were tremendous, and especially in NXT at the moment, I feel she's not getting into the title picture enough. She's got a current rivalry going on with Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai, but it's nothing more than the back burner for her at the moment, I think.
Fair enough, fair point. Again, two very good arguments. It's probably been closest on both these things, to be fair. I would have to say that I think anyone on NXT at the moment, like, it's very tough because you've got people sitting at the top of the card that kind of are taking those spots, and they are very keen on Io Shirai, and on some of the other women above, people like Shotzi Blackheart. And while I guess she is underrated, I'd say at the moment, I think, like Kyrie's saying, like on the main roster, she's been tied in with Asuka and what she's doing, and I do kind of agree that it is getting boring seeing every person from a certain culture have their culture as their gimmick. I really can't call it. You know what? I'm gonna go you, Josh. I think Kyrie, she's on the main roster today. She's had somewhat of a chance. She is very underrated though. But yeah, I'll go with you then, Josh. Shotzi Blackheart. I think she's definitely someone we need to see more of. So the next round. So as we had the indie round already, this round is WWE. So anyone who basically predominantly has wrestled for the WWE at any, at the moment, sorry. So we'll start with Overrated, and we will start with Mr. Walker. Per second, starting now.
So my overrated wrestler in the WWE at the moment is Braun Strowman. I don't rate his in-ring work. I don't like the fact his character is a big man. We don't need those characters in 2020 because the smallest man can do the exact same power moves as Braun Strowman can. The only promo he can cut is when he's shouting, and I don't think that kind of evades the kind of character that I want to see on my screen. Everything, there's nothing I've never looked at Braun Strowman as a character or a wrestler and gone, this is great, I'm really enjoying it. His wrestling style bores me. I don't think he does anything to enhance the card or the company he works for.
Yeah, okay. You really don't like Braun Strowman. Switch it up to Mr. Porter.
So with this one, I went for Roman Reigns. And it's a very kind of tipping point one, because I know a lot of people love him or a lot of people hate him. He's the Marmite of wrestling, I believe. I just think he's been way overused. Since The Shield, he was definitely used the most for like a fan favourite type situation. I think he didn't need the amount of title runs he had. He could have done very well just on his own, just wrestling rather than having a title shot all the time. And I think his gimmick is stale. He's had the same gimmick since he broke it from The Shield. Obviously, you had Dean Ambrose going back to his original kind of lunatic fringe, and then you had Seth Rollins now with the Monday Night Messiah. And I think Roman Reigns is just stale at this point with the gimmick that he has, and he needs to change things up. He's had the same theme song since The Shield broke up, which is basically The Shield's theme song.
All right. Again, two very good arguments. I think Reigns, he had a shift last year when they took him out of the title picture, and I think that did help him. And he did suffer a lot of pinfall losses, last year. And I think his feuds have been a bit more enjoyable. I kind of agree he might need to change it up a little bit. Perhaps we would have seen that had he obviously stayed in the company, obviously around WrestleMania. I'm a Chevy here. I think I do like Strowman, but yeah, I would say perhaps he falls into that bracket. I don't. This is hard. Yeah, I'm gonna go Jack and say Strowman. I can't put Reigns in there. I think he is still a phenomenal talent. I think more so than Strowman. So underrated in WWE. Let's go to you, Porter.
So for underrated, I had Drew Gulak. He's had a very minuscule, I wouldn't say push, but he had a small run with Daniel Bryan before his possible departure. We're still not completely sure on that one, but watching him evolve with his own faction Catchpoint, having this small rivalry type situation with Matt Riddle, he's a genuine wrestler. He's not just a flashy talent. Everything he does in the ring, he could perform in real life in an actual street fight or something like that. But he's a good talent, and the gimmicks that he's put all his effort into. And even when he had the Cruiserweight title run, I feel he didn't have enough behind him.
Okay. Right, same to you, Jack.
Mine is Shelton Benjamin. The fact that Shelton Benjamin never had a world title is criminal. In ring, he's exceptional. His character was great, but it never got a chance to get off the ground before he changed it. Everything he done in his career, except from the last, I'd say, 5 years, was completely gold. Like, I can't doubt anything wrong with it. Every time he was in the ring, he left it all out there. He's got some of the most memorable moments in, I'd say, the PGA or the Ruthless Aggression era of WWE. And again, the fact that they never put a title, like a world title, on him is criminal.
Right. Again, two very, very good arguments. I think that Shelton. I'm with you, Jack. I think Shelton's fantastic, and I think it's great. I think we maybe would have seen something come of him if he had stuck in the company a little bit, but potentially I think Kofi ended up kind of getting his spot, I'd like to think. And I'd argue at the moment he can't be young. He must be in his mid-40s now. I think it'd be hard to kind of say he's underrated. I think Drew Gulak is someone who's been bubbling under for a long time, and obviously he's somewhat departure / he might be re-signed by the time this goes out. I think he's someone who's a real talent and real credit. So I'm going to give this round to Josh based on that. But Shelton, yeah, I love you, Shelton. So, final round. For this round, actually, you're going to get a minute to discuss your picks. So it's the all-time. So who is is a creme de la creme? Like, who is the most overrated wrestler of any company, any generation, of all time? And we're going to start with Mr. Porter. Your time starts now.
Right, so this is where I get fired from the podcast. My pick for most overrated wrestler was, it pains me to say this, Owen Hart. I was waiting for that. Right, simply because he was a good wrestler, but I don't think he was that good. If I remember correctly, he hasn't had a world title run that I know of. But you've got people begging to have him on a Hall of Fame, and I just don't think he's Hall of Fame worthy. I think he didn't do that much for wrestling as a whole. Yes, he was a fan favourite, but I feel he was really overrated and didn't put in as much as people got out of him in wrestling. Obviously, maybe had he lived a little longer, I think potentially he wouldn't be as overrated as I believe he is, but I definitely think he's a little bit overrated in the sense of his in-ring skill wasn't the 5-star that everyone says it was, and I just don't think he was all there.
Hey, if you could see my face during that, bloody hell. Jack, coming to you. Got a minute starting now.
I thought mine was bad. Mine's The Rock. Mine's The Rock.
Okay.
The Rock is the worst in-ring wrestler to ever be the company's main man. He is... I guess I can't deny the fact he's very charismatic. He's got the catchphrases, but he was worse he's a worse wrestler than half of the jobbers for the company in the Attitude Era. He couldn't have a minuscule of a match that someone in the undercard could have on a big stage. I think the whole feud between Austin and The Rock is just overhyped vignettes and promos. If you watch back the matches at WrestleMania without the looking back at the fondness of the Attitude Era, they're bad. They're just bad matches. The pacing's fine, but it's just not good.
Whew. Fucking hell! I did not expect to have this choice given to me, Mr. Porter. I think you really, really need to watch some more of Owen Hart. I think
it's just my opinion.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you could see my face when you started that, and I was like, "What the fuck? I
had to catch my breath.
If we don't get more recognition on this podcast for that, I will be shocked.
I think definitely we're going to have some comments about that. I think that's an insane opinion. I think Jack's opinion on The Rock is also quite insane, but by comparison, Jack's coming across quite good here. I think The Rock, The Rock was never the best in-ring talent. I think that's fair to say. I think it's fair to say that, yes, there are some rose-tinting glasses that kind of go on with a lot of the Attitude Era stuff, and I constantly pick people apart on social media when they go, stuff was better 20 years ago in wrestling. It's like, well, no, I've watched some of the stuff. It was terrible. And yeah, I think in terms of overrated, I think fitting the argument more would be The Rock. And so that's the only reason. But I do love The Rock, and I think it would be stupid to kind of ignore the fact that he is probably one of the biggest box office attractions in entertainment, really, because not only was he so popular as a wrestler, he's very popular now as an actor. So I'm going to go with Jack and just say, Josh, that network subscription, get it back, get it working, watch some Owen Hart. I'm telling you now, it will change your life. So now, with that being said and done, fuck me, who's underrated? Jesus Christ.
Say my pick. My original pick was Owen Hart for underrated, but I thought he's not okay. He's publicly rated as one of the best there's ever been.
So we've got polar opposite on that one.
but my all-time underrated wrestler is Brian Pillman. Unfortunately, he couldn't do more in wrestling. But I feel like if you look back at the things that he did, now I can't look back stuff with nostalgia. For those who don't know, I was born in 2000. I started watching wrestling in 2006. I know nothing about the Attitude Era. Never really watched it. But if you go back and watch any match with Brian Pillman in, no matter who it's against, he's always the star. He's always the man you talk about. The stuff that he was doing in the early 90s were incredible, and they would still look out of place in today's wrestling. He would be considered one of the best if he came out from the indie scene today. And the fact that he's not looked at as one of the best of all time is criminal. Now, it's like it might be the fact that he didn't get enough time to shine, just due to unfortunate circumstances. But if it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be an Attitude Era, and I think wrestling as a whole will be different.
Okay, right, Josh. Just to remind you as well, the score of the round the doors are 5-4 to Jack. So if you get this where you will tie and have an argument that you will settle it. But let's see, Josh, who's the most underrated?
Okay, so for this one, I had Zack Ryder. I feel he wasn't utilising WWE as much as he could be. To my knowledge, he didn't have a run in indie wrestling, I don't think. Or if he did, I didn't see any of it. But I feel as though he was always a mid-carder when he had the potential for so much more. And then he was stuck with Kurt Hawkins. Although they are a very good tag team, they were stuck with the losing streak gimmick, which I hated. But it did give them a lot of recognition in that respect. But he had a couple WrestleMania moments. He won an Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania once in a ladder match, but he could have done so much more in WWE before he was released, but they just didn't utilise him the way he could have. He was actually pretty good in the ring, and his mic skills were all there, and he had a lovable fan favourite gimmick. Everyone loved him, as far as I was concerned. Well, maybe not everyone, because it's wrestling. No one loves everyone. But
time, right. Two very good arguments there. A fairer round, I'd say, than our fucking slaughterhouse against Owen Hart in the last one.
My bad.
You see, I like Zack Ryder. I like Zack Ryder, and I think I do agree with some of your points there. To be fair, Josh, I think that he probably did deserve a bit more, especially around 2011. He did suggest them having the Internet Championship. I think that could have been a big thing for the company. Like just merch alone would have made a mint. I'm going to give it to Jack on the basis that Brian Pillman, I do believe, is up there with like the top echelons of wrestlers that have ever done it. I'd argue as well, Zack Ryder is 35 years old. I think his better days could be ahead of him. Obviously, he may go to AEW. He may end up back in the WWE, obviously, after the world sorts itself out. And I think, he could have better days ahead of him, whereas obviously Pillman sadly can't. And I guess he lives on through his son, which is quite nice. The final point does go to Jack. So we'll top that up. Yes. That is 6-4. 6-4. I mean, some really compelling arguments there. It's going to show that there are some very, very, very different opinions when it comes to wrestling. So yeah, you are the winner, Jack Walker. And yeah, I mean, my kind of thought, especially on the last one, my last one for overrated, to be fair, was Bret Hart. You know, so
I had a heart. Like...
I was in that.
I actually agree with that to a point as well.
You see, my thing is, I think Owen was better than Bret. That would have been my argument as well. Which I
100% agree.
I thought Owen was better than Bret. I thought he had a better character. He was doing the kind of heel gimmick which we see nowadays, but back then it wasn't done. The sore loser routine just wasn't done. It was like you was a wrestler, and you know, you're meant to be happy about winning, and if you lost, you meant to kind of, if you're a face, you took it on the chin. He was a villain, obviously, you might do a sneak attack, but no one kind of was like him and in your face and as brash as that. And he formed a fantastic tag team with Yokozuna. Was a big part of the New Heart Foundation in the late 90s. You know, did whatever the company said and asked of him. But yeah, that would be my pick. But yeah, let's go to show you. I mean, who are your, you know, people watching or listening at home, like, who are your most overrated, underrated wrestlers? Please comment. Well, thanks, Jack, for being on and discussing wrestling with us. We are obviously having new episodes. We are having new episodes every single week. And we shall be looking at the Diva era in an upcoming episode. That's the era of wrestling where women weren't as athletic as they are now, but they were perhaps the most over they've ever been. That's coming very, very soon. So thank you guys for joining us. Please stay safe, and please like, share, and subscribe. And we shall see you on the other side.
Bye for now. This has been a Talking Crap podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts on recent episodes, and while you're here, why not check out the Science Behind Stupid YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit that bell to keep up to date with all our recent episodes.